here we are. You can see I'm in my little virtual production setup. Looks like an arcade, but is actually an LED wall. And so today we're going to talk about all things related to virtual production. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, I encourage you to type questions and or comments into the chat, which I think you'll see down here or maybe down here. I don't know, one or the other. Somewhere on either this side or this side, you can comment. And we're going to have a special guest today, which I'm going to try and bring in, and hopefully this will work. And if it doesn't, well, you can blame the good folks in the switching side, which is basically me. So I'm going to try. Here we go. Either this works right now or it doesn't. If it does, great. Let's see what happens. Ah, it works. Asa, can you hear me?
Am I here? Did
yes,
I make
you
it?
are.
Amazing. Hey,
Good to
Noah,
see
how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm glad to
Where are
be
you
here.
today?
Thank you
Just
for
tell
having
everybody
me.
where you're coming from.
Well, at the moment, I'm in the UK. Before I head back over, I'm coming back to stateside in a couple of weeks' time. But at the moment, I'm here. I'm at my. We have our stages here in North Wales.
Fantastic. And just so people who don't know you, let me cut to a two-shot. This is exciting. Okay, you should see both of us now.
Let's do this.
All right. This is exciting, a two-shot. So tell everybody a little bit about the kinds of stuff you've been doing, because I know that you are, I mean, people can look you up on LinkedIn, and I hope they will follow you and send you a connection, all that good stuff. But so people who don't know you already, describe a little bit about your bio. Like, what kind of gigs have you been doing? How are you working in the virtual production and AI spaces these days in 2024 and up until then?
Okay, so we started out about 2018, and we started with virtual production, working with mainly to start off with. It was a lot of commercials, and then I also developed some computer systems. I think everybody in the space has had to sort of, make the tools. And so we started making some tools, and we started building Godbox computers. And that led me to then a tenure at Netflix, where I was at for a time as their virtual production supervisor. And then that sort of, after being there, I kind of like now work as a freelance virtual production supervisor, and I work on movies and series and oversee the sort of, the virtual production side of things. So that's the sort of VP side. But the reason why I got into this sort of space or am in the position that I'm in, really I'm a CTO. I'm a tech guy, but I'm also a storyteller. So I'm a tech guy storyteller, and that's kind of led me to where we are. And as a CTO, your prime objective is to qualify and sort of deep dive into technologies and to be able to make those then accessible to your people and to who you're working with, if you're in a company or a crew or whatever. So the AI thing, obviously for many years it was dull as dishwater for a long time. But then as soon as the generative AI thing came about and we could get first versions of things like Runway and Midjourney and things like that, it was like, right, okay, let's go. And it became a very, very, a very important part of what we do today.
Right on. And just so people, might know, I know you have a lot of projects in the pipeline, and we don't want to step on anybody's NDA and all that kind of good stuff. But maybe you could talk a tiny bit about like just a few like major productions you've done, or even minor production, just so people have a little bit of point of reference. So where you come from.
So obviously last year, I think for everybody in our industry was a bit tough due to the strikes and things. So last year was a patchwork quilt of projects that we could work on. So most recent projects that we've just done that are going to be coming out in the next whenever the gods release them. That'll be Silo season 2. That was a pleasure to work on. The crew was really friendly. The whole thing was really amazing, and we were there to provide the on-set visual effects in in-camera visualization. We don't just do LED. We do the full spectrum of virtual production. So sometimes it's LED, sometimes it's visualization within the camera. of VFX assets, of 3D locations or characters or whatever it may be. And on this, and on that one, it was very much sort of like visualizing on behalf of the director who wanted to see what he was going to get in VFX, and that again is a big part of virtual production's sort of value to a crew. So that was that. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, like, I hear that all the time, that people hear the word virtual production and they just think like, oh, it's LED screens, when it's really this huge spectrum of technologies where, you know, the virtual world and the physical world intersect. So it's like I'm always trying to give that people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's all about just making things inside a computer. It's as simple as that. We have, you know, even the sensor. You know, the sensor on the camera now is an eye for the machine, and so it's reacting to the light. It's feeding it into the machine. It's digitizing it, and it's making it machine code. So really, virtual production for us and for myself is all about just it includes 3D, it includes AI, it includes LED stages, it's motion capture, it's all of these things. The difference is it happens in real time or on set. I think that's the big difference for it, is that what we're doing now is, instead of just waiting for the analog shoot, if you like, to sort of hit the digital post side, it's kind of all mixed into one pipeline now. And even the VFX is becoming in real time as well. People are using engines to, create pretty, stunning visual effects. The artists that are doing that, but they're doing it in engines now instead of in renderers as they were.
And now, of course, we're getting into the whole world of AI, and people are using it to kind of create imagery from scratch. But also, it's interesting because I think there's sort of this division between AI that is generative, which is things like Midjourney, Runway, things like that, and AI that's more utility, which are, kind of the AI that's been around for years, where it's more just helping you classify footage and kind of helping you, spot stuff that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like obviously I know you're working a lot in generative AI, but talk a little bit about how you've used AI, just in more of a utility way. Yeah.
As I say, so we founded a sort of lab. I needed a space to be able to just play with the AI side of things. And so we started Bailey AI. It fitted with the name. It was a cool logo. We went with that. So it was just as simple. And that was really our lab sort of a process. So BaileyAI.org is the website if anybody wants to go and have a look at what we're doing. But what we're really doing there is we're not trying to reinvent AI, because that would be like trying to be an open AI or trying to build a large language model or something like that. We're really the kind of vulture vampires in this environment, I'm afraid, because we're using it. We're kind of like using what we can and bringing it into entertainment and into utility as well. We have two specialist areas as a business: storytelling and computers. They're two of our strong heritage areas. So far from Bailey AI, we've launched Fiction Engine, which is I also have an odd background in writing as well. So language to me is really important, and it's the source code for everything that we do, be it a script for movies or be it whatever. So we started with fine tuning and sort of building up data sets that we could. It is really fine tuning them into the engine of. In our case, we work with OpenAI a lot. And we work with the API of OpenAI, so we're shooting directly into the model, and so we extract from the OpenAI LLM, which is the huge multi-billion-dollar model, which obviously is something I'm not going to do or build. That's right. Not on my. It's not really on my personal roadmap. But we did create an interactive, storytelling, narrative-driven, personalized experience, media experience. And now we've also started to bring into that video, audio, and imagery. And so people, it's like if you were to take the old fantasy books choosing your own adventure type sort of things, where you can direct the sort of action. Like you can just go to Fiction Engine and ask it. You could be anything. You can say, I want to be a dragon who lives in clouds and eats cake. And it will do it. It'll go, okay, you're a dragon. This is your world. And so it's really an exploration of how the AI can help us to generate new forms of entertainment. It's a really fascinating area. And having feet in both camps, like, in a couple of months, I'm back on production in about 4 weeks' time, and I'll be heavily in production. But all of the things that we learn, it all comes into set. So we need these sandboxes.
Okay, so I have a clip. I have two clips, so we're gonna switch it up. We were gonna start with your virtual production clip, but we talk about AI first, so let's just jump into that.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let me show that clip, and you've seen this a million times. The way our streamer is set up here, I'm not sure if you're gonna see this, but you'll just have to take my word for it, everybody, that he is seeing it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. But we'll show this clip, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Here we go.
And that your minds are preoccupied with what you rather must do than what you really should do.
Describe to us what we just saw and what tools were used to make that.
Right. It works good that you can show the second clip after what I'm about to say, because the second what you're going to show is kind of like us in production. We shoot things differently. We shoot data. I'm a data shooter. You know what I mean? It's like I'm interested in the final look, obviously, but really I'm interested in the data and the fidelity and what I'm getting, the quality of what I take from set. So what you've just seen was all totally generated by AI. First of all, it's running through a model whereby we train the model in a look and we give it our training footage. So we shoot things, but we don't sometimes, we shoot with a new freedom, because we don't have to sort of like worry about the fine details like you do if you're capturing everything in camera. Like if you could see the training footage for some of those clips, it's like, it's people walking into a shape. So we're shooting imagery, yes, but imagery is data that we're then feeding into the model to control the model's output, and give it because this has been the hardest thing for directors, is to be able to find the style and to be able to sort of control the output. And that's what as VP Soups and people working in virtual production, we want to bring that to directors. We want to say to them, no, you can now use AI, and we can get, I mean, I'm not going to be doing an Oscar-winning drama with, the best glass. It's going to be a certain flavor still, but yeah.
And so that's kind of like, I've played with these tools. I did a whole article for Frame.io. I'm working on another one right now about using these tools in production, and kind of the one sort of issue I have with them and why I don't necessarily think they are being widely used, at least in terms of generating footage from scratch, is it's really hard to make them consistently give you an output. It's like you can get Midjourney one time to give you an amazing output, but if you say, now give me 6 other views of that exact same scene, it seems like it has amnesia.
Oh, absolutely. So what you've got to do is you've got to come off those models. You've got to start creating and working with your own sort of base technologies. Now that doesn't mean you've got to go off and, buy 100,000 A100s off NVIDIA nowadays. It does for some companies. If you're a massive organization and you want to do that kind of thing, that's fine. But if you're an artist and you want to tell stories, you're better off sort of downloading a copy of Stable Diffusion, getting the latest sort of animate diff, look these things up, start playing with them. There are ways then of creating training data in a style that you have kind of, you're happy with as towards your vision, and then bringing that into into the pipeline. Yes, consistency is still a battle, even with all of these things, but it's getting better. The control is getting more. I am a fan of all of the online tools. I think they're brilliant. I really do. They really are making a change to everybody's, tool set. But to really get into the weeds, you need to understand Python. You need to understand not understand how to actually do it, but you need to know what a script looks like. You need to know how to, you've got to get in and get dirty with the tech.
Do you think that a tool, obviously, when we're talking about 3D content creation tools and even 2D content creation tools, you have Maya, you have Unreal Engine, you have After Effects, you have Photoshop. How far away are we from an equivalent of that is completely AI, not just something, because they have a pretty interesting little like generative fill now in Photoshop that I've played around with. That's cool. But how far away are we from a 3D kind of tool that is, just instead of like sitting there modeling and animating, you're just prompting? And it's like consistent, and it's like production quality. Is that possible?
Well, I saw some Nerf infill stuff this morning. It was crazy. Like, I'm going to say it's Google, but I don't know. I can't remember. So much stuff comes across your radar every day. You know what I mean? But there was a Nerf infill thing where it showed a room, and then they said, put me a poufet in the room, and, just highlighted the area and typed it in, and lo and behold, the poufet was there. And it did look quite good if you don't mind 540 by 540 sort of graphics. And,
right.
So it's like the logic is there. The interface, the human interface is growing. That's the interesting part of like, how do you actually control this stuff? How do we, I think what Runway have done with their ink painting and the brushes and things like that is genius. Like, that's really cool. I saw it and went, "Yep, that works. That's brilliant." But it's that. It's like, how do we actually interface with these things, and control them? I don't know. I find that a fascinating, quandary. Will there be a program? Yeah, I think there already is. I just don't think it's quality enough yet. I do feel that all of the major sort of your Autodesks, your companies that are heritage pipeline companies, I think they're playing catch up a little.
Yeah.
I do think, Yeah.
Yeah, I see a question here from Connor Thomas is asking, do you think we will see full worlds within Unreal being created by AI, or are we already there? That's a good question. Like, creating environments is a challenge. Like, can AI already do that in a tool like Unreal?
There's no reason why it couldn't. Like I say, it's going to be a question of quality and what do you want it for. So if you want it for cinema, we're a long way off.
Yeah.
To get an image up to that sort of scale and to that kind of pristine visual, we are probably, years, I would say, from being able to achieve those type of. But I think if you're talking about game worlds, if you're talking about building, lower kind of fidelity, it's almost there already to a degree. It's going to be interesting to see how Unity, how Unreal, how these guys sort of like bring these things into it, because they do. In our business, we invent a tool. The next thing you know, it's in the engine. That's just how our world works. Exactly. It's kind of, it's like, so, yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears for a second, and thank you again for folks that are watching. I'm doing my best. Oh, here's one more quick question before we jump into your other clip. This is from John Weinbrenn. asking, what are your thoughts on interfaces like Comfy UI rather than Unreal Blueprints? Is that?
Well, I love Comfy UI. The Comfy UI is a native for us all if we've got any form of post-production node-based sort of experience. You open it up and you go, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. You know. So Comfy UI, I'm a big advocate, purely because of its interface, as you say. It's sort of big thumbs up there.
Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. So let's switch gears back for a sec here, and we have this. I have this clip that is. I have it labeled as NCAM tracking. So if there's anything you want to say about this before we show it. It's
just a question of how we shoot. You know, this is our studio. This is what we do in our studios. This is how we shoot things nowadays. We're kind of like capturing all of the data, scanning all of the 3D, taking positional, all of that. So just watch through it, and you'll see the sort of things. And we like machines that can see.
Okay,
and that's what you're looking at. Machines with eyes.
Here we go. All right.
I mean, it's a cute one. It's just,
So describe what we just saw there. Describe what was the kind of brief there, and what was the kind of what was happening on set.
Okay, so we were preparing for an A-list cat, and what you couldn't see there, and what you could in the center there, riding the bike would have been Sydney from Euphoria. What's her name? Sydney Sweeney or something, I think. Mm-hmm. So she would be in the center there, but this was the pre-runs that we were doing.
Okay.
Now the brief was we needed to spin 360, creating visual with video. So we shot the video planes. We also shot all of the point cloud and the camera motion. And with all of that data, we could recreate the entire thing, not only in a 2D sort of compositing pipeline, but also in a 3D environment as well. And then and that was the perfect sort of data to come from set and to go to the VFX supervisors, who would tend to be my boss in these sort of situations. I'm shooting the data and I'm giving it to the post people to then create the final the final piece after the shoot in post. It's just that now the post that they're doing isn't what you would call the old sort of rendering form. They did it all in Unreal, and then what we do works really well with this new sort of like real-time VFX. I mean, let's not argue about the word real-time, but it's it is what it is. The point is, it's you're not having to go off and render in the cloud or anything like that. That's the sort of thing that when we're shooting these things, and I design those sort of suits and those studio setups to get the best to get the best data, to get the best footage, to finish the job. That actually turned into a commercial for Coca-Cola company called Baywater.
Wow.
That was
So we're getting close. Believe it or not, we're almost at the half hour, and I promised everybody watching this I'd only take up 30 minutes of their time. So thank you everybody for watching for so long, and I appreciate the questions. But so one of the questions I hear all the time is, people who see all these crazy tools online. They're like, I'm interested in this. It looks cool, but I have no idea kind of even where to begin because I'm not an expert, like you are, who's been doing this stuff for years, but I want to somehow be involved. Like what is the best sort of entry point for somebody who wants to sort of start from zero today?
Well, the beauty of this is that you can go, first of all, write something, get your idea out on a piece of paper. I'm going to go old school, but put it down. Make sure you know what you want to do. Because if you don't, you're at the mercy of everything else. And then that's where it starts to fall to bits. So just have an idea as to what you want to do, but then you've got to enable it to be bent and twisted by the machines. Because let's say you start with Midjourney. We're going to do some, research some prompting, understand how to put the little pieces of code at the end of your Midjourney prompt. They make a big difference. They're not complicated, but just, copy what other people are doing in the Discord, see what images they like, and then look at what did they say? How did they prompt that image? How can I prompt that image? Mm-hmm. That's a great way to start. And once you start actually creating some images with these things, that's your platform then to go off and to take those into multiple ways. So I mean, there's no shortage of tool. The tools are out there. Mm-hmm. As they say, what is it? Genius is copy, something or another steal. Whatever.
Exactly. Thieves. What is it? Yeah, artist steal. Yeah, great.
You know what we mean.
Yeah. Okay,
but basically, just do that.
Yeah. I see one, and this leads right into a good question from Andrew Lee in the chat, where he's asking, "Will we ever get? Let's see, how will we ever get to a point where you, as the director, the creative person, will be able to direct completely synthetic actors and achieve the same level of performance as human actors do today?" This is, talk about a loaded question, but that's what they're asking.
Yeah, isn't
it? No pressure.
I'm going to say yes. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a choice. It's always going to be about choice. And it's going to be a choice as how you as an artist want to tell your story. Now, some people are going to still choose to bring out all the cameras, all the catering, all the all the travel, all the rest of it. And some people are going to just hit an AI. Mm-hmm. It's going to be down then. I think you are going to be at the mercy of that AI that you choose as to the somewhat aesthetic feel as to what you get. It's like Midjourney or Runway at the moment. If you look at those two, and we really should mention some more actually, but because we need to keep talking about those, but what I'm saying is that all of these tools, they inherently sort of have a look, a little bit like a lens. You choose a lens for a look. Why don't you choose an AI for a look? Likewise with its writing skills. I mean, I like OpenAI. The reason why Bailey AI went with the OpenAI platform is because I like how it writes.
Right.
That you know what I mean? It's like I've used Llama. I've used all these. We had all these other sort of models and things, and it was like that's just, some of them were terrible, and some of them were okay, but not got the. So it's really a question of playing with them and. But will a director be able to sit there? I once got shouted at on stage by an actress. I was in Canada. And she was like, "Oh my God, we're just going to sit here in little black boxes making things. What's happened to the community?" And I was like, "I'm with you. I get it." But the important part of this is that, and I'm a bit of an old priest at this type of thing, but I believe in democratization of things. And the point is now, I believe every human has a story that is worth them telling to some people, not maybe to everyone, but everybody has a story, and it's their human right to be able to create that story and to articulate it in some way. And from that perspective, that is what AI is bringing. Now, that's not much comfort to somebody who earns their living in a industry that is under attack from these sort of technologies. But, you know, try telling that to some young person who's had a tremendously difficult life, who just feels that they want to try and bring that story to life.
Yeah.
Well, that's only got to be a good thing, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, I know. We're just filmmakers. We're not like.
I just don't know. You know, I'm not like that. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not. I wish we need the Dalai Lama in the room as well. You know.
I'm going to try and get him for the next show. We'll do our best, right? It's just not take my calls. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this
Fantastic.
up. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. And thank you, everybody who's been watching on LinkedIn. And this will be recording. So if you're watching this on pay-per-view or whatever it is they call it when we play it back, enjoy. And, keep an eye out for the next show. And we'll do our best to make it awesome. And then any last words before we sign off here?
Well, no, I think we should give any last words to the audience, as we actually have one that can fiddle with what we're doing. It's an interactive audience. So if there's any other questions from any of them, I think it's, I think that's I'm all done.
All right. I think they're just stunned into silence, and hopefully they're off right now futzing with AIs and having a good time. So I'm gonna get ready to cue the outro music, synthwave goodness, and thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.